All right. Hello, everyone. We have arrived at being able to play Jubilee. So she just released last week, Friday, and I got her in the mail, I think, on Saturday. And so I've been able to play her 3 times now. I played a solo game, and then I've played a couple multiplayer games with her. And I've been really enjoying her deck so far, though I was just playing with the precon deck the first 3 times I played her, and today I updated her deck following the list of universal pre-built decks. So if you look in the description of the video, you'll find a link to those pre-built decks on Board Game Geek, where you can keep all of your heroes decks built all at the same time, all the time. And I follow those lists because that's the way I like to play the game. I don't like to have to rebuild decks or put heroes in aspects other than their original aspect. I just go with all of the heroes being pre-built at all times. That way I can just grab a hero deck and play and not have to build a deck because I don't like building decks. That is not the part of the game that I like. I like to play the game, not build the decks. So that being said, that means that she's got some cards in here that are not from her pre-built deck, and I haven't played with that yet. So they're all cards I've played with in other decks before, but just not in her particular deck. Jubilee's whole thing is that she is going to want to do events, and then she wants to play those events by paying different resource types. So, for example, let's see if I started with one. So like this card here says, deal 2 damage to an enemy for each different resource type you use to pay for this card. Deal 2 damage to it. So you are going to want to try to pay different types of resources. And then she's got some upgrades that go off of that as well. So she's got these sunglasses. After you play an attack event, deal 1 damage to an enemy for each different resource type you use to pay for that event. And then she's got another item, her coat, that does the same thing for thwart events. So she wants to play events and then try to pay as many different types of resources as possible when she is paying for those events. The villain that we're going to go against today is Mojo. That's where Jubilee landed in the alphabetical list when I was making the list, because when I was making the list back in April, Jubilee had already been announced, I believe, or soon after I made the list, so I threw her in. And so when I got to her and Mojo a while ago, I just skipped them, and now I'm coming back to them. That also made it so that I could actually play the scenarios from the Mojo pack in order. So I played Magog, and then I played Spiral, and now I'm actually playing Mojo. The whole thing with the Mojo expansion is that you're doing different genres of TV. So like crime and horror and comedy and things like that. And so those encounter sets were used in those other scenarios, and then he uses them again in this one. So at the beginning of the game, what you have to do on the back of his setup card here is you have to choose 1 modular set plus 1 per player additional. So in our case, we have 2 modular sets from the Mojo Mania scenario pack and set them aside. So for our particular scenario today, I just chose 2 randomly. I chose the crime encounter set and the sitcom encounter set. Then when you flip over his main scheme, it says, when revealed, choose one of those set aside encounter sets randomly, put its show environment into play, and shuffle the remaining cards into the encounter deck. So I chose crime and sitcom randomly, and then I chose randomly crime is going to be the one that starts in play. So we have this environment card for the crime encounter set, and then the other 5 cards are shuffled into the encounter deck. This environment says all other encounter cards gain Insight 1. So whenever we take encounter cards and reveal them, they will add 1 threat to the main scheme. But then each friendly character gets +1 thwart. So our hero and any allies we put into play have +1 thwart. The other environment card that we have in play with Mojo is the Wheel of Genres, and it starts on the spinning side. The way this works is this is the card that's going to pull that other encounter set into play, when the encounter deck runs out, this says if there are no set aside encounter sets left, then you lose. So if the deck runs out twice, in our case, then we would lose. Otherwise, flip this card over. Then it says at the start of step 3 of the villain phase, when you deal encounter cards, choose one of said modular set, reveal its environment, shuffle the rest of the cards in. So that's how our sitcom cards are going to get added in. And they go on top of the encounter deck. So all of those cards will go on top of the encounter deck, making it so that you're guaranteed to get them, basically. The other interesting thing that Mojo does is he is going to actually put threat onto our character. And so that's on his villain card. So on his villain card, it says, after your turn ends, while you are in hero form, so if you're in alter ego form, you can ignore this, but while you're in hero form, at the end of your turn, discard the top 3 cards of the encounter deck, place 1 threat on your hero for each card discarded this way that does not belong to the Mojo encounter set. So if it doesn't say the word Mojo in the bottom down here. So if it's a standard card or one of the crime cards, or later on in the game when it's one of the sitcom cards, then you'll have to add threat to your character. That is going to most often happen when you're in hero form, but there are some Mojo cards in the encounter deck that will add it onto you when you're in alter ego form as well. And then what happens is whenever you would flip your identity card, either from alter ego to hero or vice versa, if you have threat sitting on your card, then you have to add it to the main scheme. So it is going to be a little bit of a threat management game is kind of the idea with this scenario, which means that he's got a pretty high threat threshold, starting at or you lose when it hits 25. However, it starts at 10, which most of the time they don't start that high. And then it also will gain a lot of threat from him scheming and putting threat on normally, and then also from that putting threat onto your character directly, which makes it good that Jubilee is a justice character, which is nice. Okay, so let's look at our starting hand. So they finally reprinted the Power of Justice. So instead of having Daredevil on the Power of Justice, we've got a copy with Cable on it now, which is kind of cool. So I've got Power of Justice. Unlikely Duo is the team up card with Wolverine. I don't have Wolverine in my starting hand, so this will end up just being a resource most likely. Jubilee Sunglasses we talked about already. That's when I play an attack event. I can deal damage based on how many different resource types I paid for that event. Surveillance Team is one of the cards I subbed in from her precon. This is an older card that was not in her precon. Surveillance Team is a support, exhaust it, and remove a threat, and you can do that 3 times. 3 Steps Ahead is one of the new cards from her deck. It says for each different resource type you use to pay for this card, choose a scheme and remove 2 threat from it. And then Grand Finale we kind of talked about earlier as an example, 2 damage to an enemy, and then each different resource type, 2 more damage to an enemy for each. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So I know for sure I'm going to use Unlikely Duo as a resource. Let's see. The other thing I can do on her alter ego side, she has an action that says search your deck for the shopping spree player side scheme and put it into play, limit once per phase. So I do not have that in my hand right now, so I can go ahead and go find that. So I'm going to go ahead and search my deck for that card. There it is. So shopping spree player side scheme comes into play with 2 threat. This is an interesting one where you cannot thwart it, so you can't remove threat by using a hero or ally. So in order to get threat off of this one, what you have to do is you have to exhaust your alter ego to remove a threat. What you get to do when it's completed is you get to, whoever defeated it gets to look through their deck and find an item card and put it into play. So she's got a few different item cards. Her sunglasses are the one that I started with in my hand, are one of them, and then her coat, and then she's got some other items in her deck as well, like she's got a cell phone card and like a disguise and some other stuff like that. This is also a player side scheme that does not have the victory keyword on it, so when it is finished, it actually just goes back to my discard pile. So I can do it again, but it has to be in my deck in order to find it, because her alter ego ability says search for the shopping spree player side scheme insert your deck, not your discard pile. So it has to be after my deck has been shuffled and it has to be back into my deck before I can go find it again. But most player side schemes, after you finish them, they are done. They go to the victory display and then they're out of the game. So it's kind of cool that she can do it more than once. Wouldn't be much of a shopping spree if you could only buy one thing. Okay, so shuffle my deck after searching it. And then now I can actually do like my whole turn. Okay. So I could immediately remove a threat from there by exhausting her. So I think I'm going to go ahead and do that. Then I'm going to go ahead and flip to my hero side. On my hero side, she can also exhaust to generate a wild resource. So that's pretty nice. Okay, so from my hand, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the Power of Justice as 2 resources for a Justice card. Plus, I'll discard Unlikely Duo. And actually, you know what? That doesn't work as well as I want it to. I want to do as many different resource types as I can when I play 3 steps ahead. So you know what? I think I'm just going to do the Power of Justice as 2 resources for a surveillance team and just use it immediately to remove a threat. So I'll take a threat off the main scheme, and surveillance team will be down to 2 counters. I think they're called Snoop counters on surveillance team. Yep, 3 Snoop counters, and then you remove 1 each time you use it. Okay, then I think I will do 2 resources then and play Jubilee's Sunglasses for when I do play an attack event. And I think that's going to be it, unfortunately. Her sunglasses also give her +1 attack, so if she does use her basic attack, it will do 2 damage instead of 1. In the 3 games I've played with her so far, I think I've used one of her basic abilities, Thwart and Attack. I think I've used one of those like twice, because she's usually exhausted from generating a resource or from defending. And so most of the time I haven't done that. Most of the time I've done all my attacking and thwarting through events from my hand, which seems like that's kind of her MO. So that makes sense. I'm going to hold on to 3 steps ahead because it's a good thwarting card, and I'm definitely going to need a good thwarting card. And then I'm going to draw to get back up to 5. All right, so here's my new hand. I've got Crew Quarters, which is an alter ego action. It says exhaust Crew Quarters to heal a damage from an alter ego. So I can heal without having to exhaust my identity, which is kind of nice. Here's her coat. That's nice. So this gives her +1 thwart, just like the sunglasses give her +1 attack. And then the rest of the text is exactly the same as her sunglasses, except it's for thwart events instead of attack events. So play a thwart event, exhaust it, remove a threat from a scheme for each different resource type you played. Here's the cell phone that I was talking about. It comes in with 3 charge counters. You can exhaust it and remove a counter. That player makes choose a player. That player makes a basic attack or thwart with a character they control, and that character gets +1/+1 for this use. So can give allies or identities +1 to stats. I haven't played this card yet. So far, it doesn't seem super useful. Flash of Light is one of her events. Remove 3 threat from a scheme. If you paid for it with 2 different resource types, you can confuse an enemy. And then we held on to 3 steps ahead. And then she's got another card, Fireworks or something like that, that does exactly the same thing, but it does damage instead. So it does 4 damage if you paid for it with 2 different resources. It stuns the enemy. And then one cool thing that they did with her with her cards is she's got 3 copies of Flash of Light in her deck, but they all have different resources in the bottom. And then she's got 3 copies of her attack event, but they all have different resources in the bottom. Just kind of leaning into her ability to wanting to pay different types of resources, which I thought was really cool. Okay. So then it is Mojo's turn. He's going to gain... technically, before he goes to his turn, at the end of my turn, since I'm in hero form, I'm going to discard the top 3 cards of the encounter deck. 1, 2, 3, and see how many of them are not Mojo cards. None of them are Mojo cards. One of them's My Obligation, and then the second one is from the Crime set, and then the third one is from the Standard set. These are all good cards to not have to deal with, though. I got rid of Shadow of the Past, I got rid of My Obligation, and I got rid of another side scheme. So even though I now have to add 3 threat onto my character, those are cards that I am happy to not have to deal with right now. Okay, then it's his turn, so he gets his 1 threat. And then he goes to attacking me. And he's going to attack me for 1 plus a boost card. Jubilee is not the toughest character. She's only got 9 health. And she doesn't have a ton of ways of reducing damage other than defending. But I think I would like to keep her readied so I can use her as a wild resource if I need it. So I'm going to hold on to her. I'm not going to defend. He's going to attack me for 1 plus 1 and place 1 threat on each character you control. So he's hitting me for 2, and I have to put a threat on myself. So he's hitting me for 2. I go down to 7. And then he deals me an encounter card, and we have to remember that dial M for Mojo makes it so that this encounter card also has Insight 1. So this encounter card is the Villain Schemes, and it also has Insight 1. So he gets 1 from Insight 1, and then he schemes for 2, 4. Man, that sucked. So he's up to what? He's up to 15. Already out of 25. Hoo boy. Okay, so then it's my turn. No reason not to use Surveillance Team every round whenever I can, so I'll do that. Take 1 off. Then I'm going to want to put Jubilee's coat into play so I can use it. So I'm going to pay 2 resources. I'm going to pay cell phone and crew quarters to play Jubilee's coat. Then I'm going to use the wild resource by exhausting Jubilee plus a blue resource from my hand to play Flash of Light, remove 3 threat from a scheme. I'm going to remove it from here. And then since I paid for it with 2 different resource types, I'm going to confuse an enemy. So I'm going to confuse Mojo. So the next time he would scheme, he doesn't. Then I am going to do, after you play a thwart event, exhaust Jubilee's coat and choose a scheme. Remove 1 threat from that scheme for each different resource type used to pay for that event. I paid 2 different resource types, so I get to remove 2 more from the main scheme. So I've got the main scheme back down to 9. Now I kind of want to flip to alter ego form because he's confused, so he won't thwart anyway. When I do flip, or he won't scheme with the confused card. If I flip though, I will add these 4 threat onto the main scheme and it will be back up to 13. So I will only have net gained 2 threat being removed. But this seems like the best time to flip since he is confused. So I think I'm going to go ahead and do it. So he gets that threat. I'm going to flip, and then I will ready and then go to his turn. I'm going to draw my hand of 6 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's see what I got. So these are the other cards where they did different types of resources. So she's got 3 copies of this resource card, Plasmoid Energy, and each one has a different combination of resources on the bottom to help you pay different types of resources. Okay, so I've got 2 Plasmoid Energy. I've got X Gene, which is exhaust for a wild resource to help you pay for an identity-specific event. Another cell phone. Multi-talented is an attack and a thwart event, and then depending on what you paid for it, you do different things. And then I got the Mockingbird ally. After she enters play, stun an enemy. Okay. So then at the end of my turn, I have to discard the top 3 cards of the encounter deck. To see, oh no, I don't have to do that when I'm not in hero form. So let's put those back. That only happens when I'm in hero form. I forgot about that. Okay, so then we are going to have him scheme, which he doesn't because he's confused. And then he's going to give me an encounter card, which has Insight 1. So he's going to get 1. And then he's going to scheme. Gosh darn it. He schemed anyway. So he schemes for 2. Place 1 threat on each character you control. So he schemes for 2 and 1 on me. So 2 and 1 on me. Man. Let's see. 3, 4, 5. So he's back up to 16. Man. So he still ended up gaining 1. At least he didn't scheme twice, because if he hadn't been confused, he would have schemed twice. That would have been rough. Okay. Let's see. Do I want to go find an item? Because I could finish the shopping spree if I wanted to. It would be a cell phone or a disguise, I think, would be the only ones that I have left. I think I'd almost rather just keep her readied so that I can use her as a resource. So I'll go ahead and flip and add that threat from her onto the main scheme. And then I'll use surveillance for the last time. So that'll remove 1. And then surveillance team will get discarded. Okay. Then I'm going to pay 1 with cell phone and play X Gene, because that'll just be nice to have out. I don't have any use for it this turn because I don't have any identity specific events in my hand, but that will be useful later. Then I am going to tap Jubilee as a resource, plus 2 from Plasmoid Energy. The one from Jubilee is wild, and then these 2 are different, so that's 3 different resources. To play multi-talented, I'm going to do the wild is going to be the fist, and then the Plasmoid Energy I played is the energy and the mental. So I've got all 3 of these. So I'm going to deal 2 damage to an enemy. So finally hitting Mojo for 2. So 2 damage to an enemy, down to 14. Then I can remove 2 threat from a scheme, so I'll knock this down by 2. And then heal 2 damage from your identity, which is why I didn't heal in alter ego form, because I knew I was going to be able to heal to full here. Then multi-talented is both an attack and a thwart event. So I'm going to get to exhaust both her coat and her sunglasses. And I paid 3 different resource types to play multi-talented, so I'm going to get to remove 3 threat from a scheme and deal 3 damage to an enemy. So I'll deal 3 more to Mojo and knock him down to 11. And then I think that is all I'm going to be able to do that turn, because I have another Plasmoid Energy, but Mockingbird costs 3. Be great if I could have played her this turn and stunned him, but that's all I was able to do. So I'm going to hold on to both of those because those are good cards, and I'm going to draw up to 5. Okay, so I held on to Plasmoid Energy. Firecracker is the name of it, not Fireworks, Firecracker. So that's the attack event, her identity-specific attack event. 4 damage if you paid 2 different types, stun the enemy. Blinding Flash, choose X enemies. X is the number of different resources you used, and stun and confuse each of those enemies. And then I held on to Mockingbird 3 steps ahead. We've seen is I can use it to thwart. Okay. So then I am in hero form now. So at the end of my turn, I have to discard the top 3 cards of his deck and see how many are Mojo cards. Man, I'm getting unlucky with that. All 3 are not Mojo cards. The last time I played this scenario, I had I was getting basically nothing put onto my identity. Okay, then he is going to attack me for 1. I just healed back up to full, so I'm not going to defend it. I'm just going to take it. So 1 plus 1 and place 1 threat. So same card he hit me with last time. He's going to hit me for 2, and I get 1 threat. Those are like the exact same 2 cards that I got hit with. Same combo, basically. 3 not Mojo cards plus the supporting actor as a boost card. It's like the exact same thing I got last time. Okay. Then he's going to hit me with an encounter card. The encounter card will have Insight from Dial M. And the encounter card is the Law and Order Side Scheme. Let's see. It has Hinder 1, so it's going to come in with 6 threat. Each friendly character gets -2 attack. Then I can spend X energy resources to remove X threat from this scheme. So another way of removing threat. I'll set it over here with Shopping Spree. So it comes in with 6. So I can thwart it normally, or as an action I can spend energy resources to remove threat that way as well. Okay, my turn. All right, I have an identity-specific event now, so I'm going to use X-Gene to help pay for it. So I'm going to pay 1 plus, let's do 1 more with Blinding Flash to play. Oh, nope, those are both wild. I want to try to pay different resource types. Let's do Mockingbird. So I paid a wild and a strength resource. So I'm going to play Firecracker to deal 4 damage to an enemy, and since I paid 2 different resource types, I am going to stun that enemy. So I'll do 4 damage and stun to Mojo. And stun, so the next time he attacks, he won't. And then I played an attack event, so I'm going to exhaust Jubilee's Sunglasses. And I paid 2 different resource types for it, so I'm going to do 2 more damage to Mojo. Okay. Then let's see. Then I will exhaust Jubilee for a resource, wild resource, and then use Plasmoid Energy for 2 more. So that's 3 different types of resources. And I'm going to play 3 steps ahead. For each different resource type you use to pay for this card, choose a scheme and remove 2 threat from it. So the way I've been reading this card is that I can choose a different scheme for each of those. Since it's 3 different types, I could choose 3 different schemes and remove 2 threat from each. So I can choose a different scheme for each. That's the way I've been playing it. Or I could just do all of them, all of the threat from one scheme. I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do all 6 from the main scheme, because giving me -2 attack isn't super bad right now because I'm not really using Jubilee's basic attacks anyway. So I'm just going to do it with 6 threat from the main scheme. Then I played a thwart event and I paid 3 different resources for it. So I'll remove 3 threat from a scheme with her coat. And I'll just do that from the main scheme as well. Just try to get that as low as I can. Okay, and then I think that is going to be the end of my turn. Yeah, okay, so I'm going to go ahead and ready everything. And then draw back up to my hand size of 5. All right, so I got Skilled Investigator, which is a 0-cost upgrade. After a side scheme is defeated, exhaust it and draw a card. Surveillance Team, got another copy of that. Got another copy of Cell Phone. Got the Monica Chang ally. After she enters play, search your deck, hand, and discard pile for a copy of Surveillance Team and put it into play. Put a Snoop counter on each Surveillance Team you control. And then I held on to the Blinding Flash. Okay. So at the end of my turn, I'm in hero form. So he gets to draw discard top 3 cards and see if any of them are not Mojo cards. Finally, 2 of them are Mojo cards, 1 of them isn't. So I only get 1 threat on my character. Then he gets 1 on the main scheme. And these cards go to the discard. Then he would be attacking me, but I stunned him, so he does not. And then I get an encounter card, which still has Insight 1. So he's going to get a threat on the main scheme. And the encounter card is Stinger Tail. Attached to Mojo, he gains Retaliate 2. When any amount of damage would be dealt to Mojo, place it here instead. Then if there is at least 5 damage here, discard Stinger Tail. So ideally, I just do 1 attack of at least 5 damage. That way I only have to take the Retaliate once. And then have it go away immediately, but we'll see what happens. And then while he has that, he has +1 attack as well. All right. I might as well play Skilled Investigator. It's free. Might as well put that in play. Well, unless I want to play some of these other cards. Yeah. I don't really care about these side schemes anyway. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to play Monica Chang, because if I play Monica Chang, then I get to put the Surveillance Team into play for free. So I think I'm going to play the Skilled Investigator, the Cell Phone, and the Blinding Flash, and put Monica Chang into play. After she enters play, search your deck, hand, and discard pile. I'll just put the one in my hand into play. Place 1 Snoop counter on each Surveillance Team you control. So basically that Surveillance Team is going to come in with 4 counters instead of 3. But I'll just use it right away. I'll use it right away to remove a threat from a scheme. And I'll just knock it down to 3 counters right away. I have no way of attacking him right now, which is unfortunate. I guess I could attack him with Monica Chang, but then she would just die. I guess I could attack him with my basic, but again, my basic is reduced by 2 because of Law and Order. So I could thwart for 2 with Jubilee. Let's do that. Let's thwart for 2 with Jubilee and bring that down to 2. but then I'm going to flip to alter ego form, so the 5 threat from here is going to go to him. And then I suppose actually I could stay in hero form for one more turn at least. Since I've got Monica Chang, I could have her block. Yeah, let's do that. So I thwarted for 2 with Jubilee. I'm going to thwart for 1 with Monica Chang. And then she takes a damage. And then I'll have Monica Chang block this next attack. Probably. Okay. Draw my hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, I got Surveillance Team. We know what that does. Sense of Justice. Exhaust it to generate a blue resource for a thwart event. Nick Fury ally. After he enters play, remove 2 threat from a scheme, draw 3 cards, or deal 4 damage to an enemy. If he's still in play at the end of the round, he discards. Wolverine is Jubilee's signature ally, but he's pretty expensive, but he's decent. And then Disguise is a way to remove threat when you are in alter ego form. So you can exhaust your identity and disguise and remove 2 threat. And it says you can do it as an action. So that means you don't have to be in hero form to do it. Okay. So then at the end of my turn, top 3 cards, because I'm in hero form. And one of them is a Mojo card, the others are not, so that means 2 threat on me. And then he's going to attack me. I'm just going to have Monica Chang take it for 1, 2, 5. Man, I'm glad I had an ally and had her take it. Ouch. Okay. Encounter card, we'll have Insight 1. And Elementary, my dear Mojo. When revealed, move all threat from a side scheme to the main scheme, and that side scheme is defeated. Or discard cards from the top of the encounter deck until a side scheme is discarded. So I will... Interesting. I'll do the shopping spree. Move all threat from a side scheme to the main scheme. It doesn't say threat. Threat cannot be removed from this scheme by heroes or allies. It doesn't say it can't be removed from encounter cards. So then that side scheme is defeated. This says when it's defeated, the player who defeated it searches their deck and discard pile. I didn't defeat it, so I'm not going to get the benefit of searching my deck for an item. But that seems like a fun interaction. Sure, why not? Better than adding 6 from over there. Okay. I think that's it for my turn. Or his turn, sorry. Okay, my turn. I'm going to use my Surveillance Team. Remove a threat. Then... How do I want to do this? I think I'm going to play one of my 2 allies. I just got to decide if I want to play Wolverine or Nick Fury. I think I'm going to do... I think I'm going to do Nick Fury. So I'm going to pay all 4 of these other cards to play Nick Fury. When he enters play, choose 1, remove 2 threat from a scheme, draw 3 cards, or deal 4 damage to an enemy. I think I'm going to do the 4 damage to an enemy because that's not an attack. And I'll do that over to his tail because that's not an attack. That's just an effect of him being played. And then I'll use Nick Fury to attack him. He'll take all 3 damage because he takes 1 for consequential damage and retaliate from Mojo. But then that's going to get rid of his tail. That way I don't have to deal with that anymore. Then, still can't attack. I could thwart. Yeah, let's use Jubilee to thwart for 2 and get rid of these 2. And then if I had used her as a resource instead of thwarting, would I have been able to play any of my other cards? I doubt it. No. Okay, so do I want to flip and put all those threat on back on? If I think I'd almost rather him attack right now because his attacks probably won't be that bad. Is his deck going to be empty if I stay in hero form? His deck is going to be empty if I stay in hero form. So I think I'm going to flip to alter ego form. So I'm going to flip to alter ego and give him all this threat off of me. And then ready and draw. Okay, so I get to draw 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. So I got Power of Justice, 2 copies of Flash of Light, the thwart event, 3 steps ahead, other thwart event, and then 2 more copies of Multi-Talented, which is attack and thwart and heal. Okay. He does not get his discard the top 3 cards trigger because I am not in hero form. He does get 1 threat, and then he's going to scheme for 2. He schemes for 3. And then he gives me an encounter card, which will have Insight 1. And it is the Undercover Mojo Side Scheme with Hinder 2. So it comes into play with 4 threat. It's got Crisis, which means I cannot remove threat from the main scheme while it is in play. And when Mojo would take any amount of damage, remove an equal amount of threat from here instead. Gross. He's got all kinds of damage protection lately. He had his tail, he's got that. Okay, then it is my turn. Let's see. I don't think I'm going to heal because I'm still only at 7. I'm still okay there. So I'm just going to go ahead and flip. And let's do 1 threat removal with Surveillance Team from Undercover Mojo. Then I'm going to do X Gene as a wild resource for an identity-specific event. And I'll do Multi-Talented for the other one to play Flash of Light, remove 3 threat from a scheme. So I'm just going to finish off Undercover Mojo, just get rid of that. And then I played Flash of Light with 2 different resource types, so I'm going to confuse Mojo. And then I did a thwart event, so I will exhaust Jubilee's coat. I paid 2 different resources, so I'll take 2 more off of the main scheme. Okay, then I will do a wild resource with Jubilee, plus I will pay a blue from my hand, plus I will do a wild to play multi-talented and do all 3 options. Deal 2 damage, remove 2 threat, heal 2. So I'm going to heal 2 for me, deal 2 to Mojo, and remove 2 threat from the main scheme. Then I played an attack event and played 3 different resources for it. So I'll exhaust I only paid 2 different types because I'd used 2 wilds, I suppose. So I can do 2 more damage to Mojo. Man, I just cannot get through his health fast enough. He's down to 1. Ugh, okay. All right. Then I'm going to hold on to Flash of Light because I'm definitely going to need that. And then I'm going to draw up to 5. Okay, so I got Plasmoid Energy, held on to Flash of Light, Government Liaison, exhaust it, and play a shield card from your hand with a resource cost reduction by 1, and then 2 copies of Firecracker attack event. Okay. I'll be able to attack him next round. Okay. So then I am in hero form now, so he's going to discard top 3 cards. There's only 1 card left, so he's only going to discard 1. It's a Mojo card, so he does not get any threat placed on me. But then he gets an acceleration token because the encounter deck is empty. And so he's going to get 2 threat on the main scheme at the beginning of his turn. And then it says on the Wheel of Genres, after the encounter deck resets, flip this card. Okay, at the start of step 3, okay, so I shuffle it, and then right before I deal myself encounter cards is when I have to do the other stuff. Okay. Alright, so that's been reshuffled. Okay, then he would attack me. I'm just going to take it. He attacks me for 1. Plus 2 is 3. Down to 6. And then he gives me an encounter card, which now is when I do the genres. So it says, at the start of step 3, deal encounter cards, randomly choose 1 set-aside modular set. It's not random, I only have 1 other option. Put the environment card into play, so Mojo in the middle comes in, dial M for Mojo goes away. So now, if I get any obligation cards, they all have the acceleration icon on them. Shuffle the rest of that encounter set and place it on top of the encounter deck. So I'm guaranteed to get them. And then deal the first player 2 face down encounter cards and flip this card. I've got 2, the other ones go on top. These are guaranteed to be from that new encounter set, which means they're going to be obligations. This one says, increase the cost to play each of your upgrades by 2, As an alter ego action, discard an upgrade you control or discard an upgrade from your hand. If there are more upgrades in your discard pile than in play, discard this card. Then I've got each encounter card gains peril. Discard 3 cards as an alter ego action from your hand and choose a player, draw a card, and discard this obligation. Peril means nothing in a solo game. Peril is if you're playing in a multiplayer game, you can't have other people help you when you're resolving an encounter card, which is what that means. But that doesn't really matter right now. All right, it's my turn. So I'm going to, I need to do lots of different things here. I'm going to exhaust X Gene as a wild resource for an identity event, +1 from my hand to play Flash of Light and remove 3 threat from a scheme. And I'm going to try to get rid of this Law and Order. So I'm removing 3. And then I paid 2 different resource types for it, which would confuse him, but he's already confused. But I paid 2 different resource types for it, so I get to get rid of it. 2 more threat from there. Then I'm going to thwart and get rid of it again. I'm going to use Surveillance Team, the last counter on Surveillance Team, to get rid of the last one on Law and Order. Because then I don't have that minus attack anymore. So now I'm going to use my basic attack with Jubilee to knock Mojo down to 0 and go to his stage 2. When revealed, place 2 threat on each friendly character. So his attack is still just 1. His scheme goes up to 3 instead of 2. And then if I'm in hero form, I have to discard the top 4 cards of the encounter deck instead of the top 3 cards now. Okay, then I'm going to, reset his health. It resets to 18. My wheel is so squeaky. That's what happens when you play a game 260 sometimes. Let's see. Then I'm going to pay 2 different resources with Plasmoid Energy and play Firecracker, deal 4 damage, and since I paid using 2 different resource types, I'm going to stun an enemy. So I'm going to pay deal 4 damage to Mojo, down to 14, and also stun him. So he is now stunned and confused. And then I played an attack event with 2 different resource types. So I'm going to exhaust Jubilee's Sunglasses and deal 2 more damage to Mojo. Okay, then in order to get rid of Growing Pains, I'd like to get rid of... I'd like to get rid of one of these. I'd really like to get rid of this one, but I didn't want to do nothing on my turn by discarding cards. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip to alter ego form, which means these 2 cards are going to go, or 2 threat are going to go onto there. And then in alter ego form, I am going to discard X Gene. And then I have 2 upgrades in play, and I've got way more than that in my discard pile, I'm sure. 1, maybe not. 2, 3. Okay, I've got at least 3 in my discard pile. So I had to have more in my discard pile than in my than in play, and then this card goes away. And then Mojo in the middle says, after a player discards an obligation, that player draws a card. So I'm going to draw a card. And I drew the Quake ally. Okay, this one I'm not going to be able to do because I only have 2 cards in my hand. I'd have to be able to discard 3. That's unfortunate. This one I'm going to ready. I've got 2 cards in my hand. My deck is empty, so I'm going to get dealt an extra encounter card for that. So I need to shuffle. This is going to be a tough round because I'm going to end up doing 3 encounter cards this turn. He's going to get a bunch of threat, and he's already at 12. Hopefully, if I make it through this round, this is going to be the hardest round by far, I think. After that, we'll see. This has been a close fight the whole time. Even if I end up losing this one, I've had a lot of fun with it. So we will see what happens. It helps that I was able to both stun and confuse him, so it didn't really matter which form I was in. I was going to be able to be at least a little bit protected. All right, I need 4 more cards. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we'll take a look at what I got in my hand. Okay, so I've got Firecracker and Quake were the 2 cards I held onto. I got Plasmoid Energy, another Firecracker, Power of Justice, and Disguise. Hey, this is a pretty good hand. I will take it. So I'll be able to play the Power of Justice and put Quake into play. I'll be able to use Plasmoid Energy to play one of the Firecrackers. And then I should be able to play the other Firecracker as well. So yeah, I should be able to do pretty well here. Okay, let's see. I don't think I'm going to be able to completely knock him out this next round, but it's going to be close. So, okay, so beginning of his turn, he's going to get 2 threat because of the acceleration token, plus another one because of all obligations have acceleration icons. So he's going to get 3. Okay, so he's up to 15. Then he is going to scheme, but he doesn't because he's confused, so he just loses that. And then I have to deal with the encounter card from my deck being empty, the regular encounter card for the round, and the extra encounter card from the one with the breakup. Shadowcat and Colossus are sad. Okay, so I've got those 3 encounters to deal with. Okay, hopefully this isn't the worst. All right, first one, Family Matters Obligation. Let's see, exhaust your identity and each support you control to get rid of it. Treat the printed text box of each support you control as if it were blank. So I have no supports at the moment, so that's okay. Watch Me Play has Insight 3, so we have to put 3 threat on the main scheme. When you look up a rule, you are confused. Alter ego action, exhaust your identity, and discard a confused status card from it, and discard this obligation. And then the odd couple, reduce your ally limit by 2, exhaust 2 characters you control, shuffle an ally from your discard pile into your deck, and discard this obligation. This is my least favorite thing about the Mojo scenario. The Mojo scenario is awesome. It's lots of fun. I really like it. I love the little twists that they have on things, like putting threat on you and making it like an actual strategic decision even more than it already is of when to flip and all that kind of stuff. But this is just silly. Putting the second encounter set, when you shuffle in a new encounter set, you don't actually shuffle it in, you just put it on top. It's so dumb because you're guaranteed whatever bad thing is on the environment card, it's going to happen to you like a gajillion times. It's so silly. Like, I don't mind it if it was just shuffle in, it'd be perfectly fine. I'd have no issues with it. But this is just like every single one of these has the acceleration icon on it. So the next time he gets threat at the beginning of his turn, he's going to get 6 threat because he normally gets 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Like, that's just, you can't, there's nothing I can do about that. Like, especially in a solo game where I'm not playing a ton of allies. This one, I have to exhaust 2 characters I control. So I'm going to put Quake into play, and I'm going to immediately just exhaust her just to get rid of that. Like, I'm not going to actually get to use her for anything. It's just, I do not like, that's the only thing I don't like in this scenario, is just the fact that you shuffle them and put them back on top. Everything else I am awesome with on this one. So that's going to be the first thing I do. I'm going to use Power of Justice as 2 resources to play Quake, exhaust myself and Quake to remove the odd couple. Whenever I discard an obligation, I get to draw a card. I drew Surveillance Team. Surveillance Team is useless to me because of Family Matters. All of my support cards are treated as if they were blank. So I can't do that. I am then going to go ahead and flip to hero form. I'm going to spend 2 resources with Plasmoid Energy to play Firecracker. 4 damage to an enemy. I'm going to deal it to Mojo. I paid for it with 2 different resources so I could stun him, but he's already stunned. So then I'm going to exhaust Jubilee Sunglasses. And I did I paid 2 different resource types, so I get to do 2 more damage to him, down to 6. All right. While I was in alter ego form, I probably should have gotten rid of the one with the breakup as well, because I'm not going to be able to kill him right now anyway, so I'm just going to get rid of these 3 cards. I still would have had enough to play the card that I played. So discard 3 cards from your hand and choose a player. The chosen player draws a card, and you discard this obligation. So basically I get to draw 2 cards. So I'll get rid of that. Then we'll say I flipped and played Firecracker, and then the 2 cards I drew were these 2. Okay. Because I wasn't going to be able to, even if I played another copy of Firecracker, he would have been down to, oh wait, no. No. Hold on a second. I can get him down to 1. Oh my gosh. Oh no. It doesn't matter because Jubilee Sunglasses I've already used. So I would do 4 damage to him. If I use these 2, I would do 4 damage to him, and he'd only be down to 2. Yeah, so I got to do it. I got to discard those 3, get rid of the one with the breakup, which lets me draw 2. Then I will put Shopping Spree into play. Why not? And then that's gonna be it, I think. He's stunned, so at least I'm protected from that. And even if he does attack me twice, I've got Quake. Okay. How much threat is he at, though? Oh, man. He's at 10, 13, 16, 18 out of 25. And he's adding 1, 2, 3, 4. So now he's at 22 out of 25. Is that right? Oh my gosh. This is 6. It's an equal number of tokens, but it just makes the math easier on me here. Yeah, 22 out of 25. So if he hits advance, we lose. Man, so close. So close. Oh man, this is nuts. Okay, so he, at the beginning of his turn, or technically end of my turn, I need to draw my cards. So I'm going to draw up to 5. Oh, I got Grand Finale too. I can kill him if I can survive this round. I can kill him with 1 card if I can survive this round. So Grand Finale deals a bunch of damage, up to 8. 2 damage plus 2 more for each different resource you paid for it. Then I got Government Liaison, Cell Phone, Crew Quarters, Skilled Investigator. Okay. If I make it through this turn, I win. If I don't make it through this turn, I don't. Okay. So then he would try to attack me but he's stunned. And then I have to do just one. I only have to do one encounter. Come on, don't be advanced. Don't be advanced. Caught off guard. Discard an upgrade or support you control. Easy. Upgrade, I will discard Jubilee's coat. Done. All right, I did it. I did it, folks. Okay. Wild resource from Jubilee. Blue resource. And one more yellow resource. 3 different resources. Grand finale. 2 damage plus 2 for each different. 8 damage. 8 damage plus 3 more. 11 damage. Take that to the face, Mojo. 11 damage. He was at 6 and I hit him for 11. Oh man, that came down to 1 card basically. I probably messed something up and probably should have lost, but you know what? I'm going to take it anyway. Oh man. So far, the discourse of what I've seen online is a bunch of people saying that they don't like Jubilee very much. Now, granted, this scenario is kind of tailor-made for her. I didn't know that when I kept it set aside. It was just random that it wasn't random, but in alphabetical order, it just happened to be that they would be together, Jubilee and Mojo. But this scenario was really made for her just because she's so good at thwarting and he's not the best at attacking. So she's good at holding down the fort with the threat and then getting little hits in here and there to knock him down. But even though this scenario is pretty much made for her, I did play her in a multiplayer game against who did we play? We played man, it was just yesterday. How did I forget already? Am I really this dumb? Who did we play? I don't remember at this point. We played somebody that wasn't Mojo, and we won. It was close, though. It was close like this, where it kind of came down to 1 or 2 turns. Man, how did I forget already? Who we played? No, whatever. It doesn't matter. But anyway, so I really like her. I've seen a lot of people saying that she's kind of lackluster or whatever, and I've had the exact opposite experience. She's been really fun. She is my type of character. I really like the fast-paced combo-y characters that do lots of events, like Gamora, and is one of my favorite characters still from all of the whole game. I really like Gamora. I really like Gambit. So far, I really like Jubilee. So she's definitely my playstyle, which helps, obviously, but I've had a lot of fun with her. So that was Jubilee versus Mojo. So now that we did that, we kind of went back in order a little bit. Now we'll go back to going through things in alphabetical order. So next will be Spectrum versus Thanos, which will probably go a lot less well than this one did, but that's all right. So thanks for watching, everybody. See you on the next one.